You're listening to The Sizzle on Iron Skillet Radio and Iron Skillet Television.
Welcome again to The Sizzle presented by Iron Skillet Sports. This is week 4. I like week 4. You want to know why? Because a lot of things come into focus now. We finally got enough of a sample to say, hey, this team could be for real. This team is a contender. This team's a pretender. And we got enough data to back up our sports analysis and things like that. Before we get into the lab, let's get into some basics. First of all, Rob Gronkowski, he's out. That's a bummer because I really expected him to explode. Him and Tom Brady going back to New England for the first time as a Buck. Yeah, you might have got a few boos and blah, 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 and Belichick and this and that, but I really think they were going to show out. So, but he's out. He might be out for a little bit because he's got some broken rib situations going on. So if you have him in your lineup, take him out now. As far as running backs go, to best of my information this morning, Josh Jacobs and Elijah Mitchell, they should play. I believe Darrell Henderson's a go-to as well. So Dalvin Cook, he's going to play as well. So you've got good signs for the running back positions. You don't have to go digging deep and trying to find somebody. You can go with your original starters if there are options. I don't know if you're doing a whole lot if you got Jacobs or Mitchell, but, you know, for Cook, that's a big deal. Well, Tennessee's going to be without their receiving core, Julio Jones and A.J. Brown, as well as Claypool for Pittsburgh. Those are bad things in the receiving arenas, but Deontay Johnson should be back for Pittsburgh. So if you see him around or you want to give it a try, they're going up against Green Bay. You expect the ball is going to be thrown quite a bit in that game on both sides. Both teams have a lot to prove. I like that matchup. I like that game. So we'll see how that goes for fantasy points and things like that. What I don't like for fantasy points this week is Arizona against the Rams. I think that's going to be a defensive-led game, but it's going to be a good game. Somebody's going to edge it out, of course. You're going to get some points going, but we have some other matchups that fantasy-wise, the numbers should be greater. So while I'll be watching that game from a fan perspective, I won't be watching that game from a fantasy football perspective, if you know what I mean. So without further ado, let's get into the lab. For my quarterback position, I think the lock this week is Josh Allen. It's kind of self-explanatory. They're at home and they're playing Houston, and they just came off of a very convincing win last week. I don't see any reason why anybody on that team, for example, should slow down, especially against Houston at home. Come on now. As far as my advantage perspective, I'm looking at the twofer, Jalen Hurts and Tom Brady. Jalen Hurts playing Kansas City. Their defense is a little suspect right now. And Jalen Hurts been playing pretty good. On FanDuel, each week he's gotten over 20 fantasy points. He's a little costly, but not as costly as other quarterbacks. And then Tom Brady is kind of self-explanatory. We're going to find out who knows who better, Belichick or Brady. And I don't really think that – I think Belichick knows Brady better than anybody else, but I don't think that's really going to matter given the tools and the firepower that Brady has. Even though he's without Gronk, he still got 3 great receivers, which I'll get into a little bit later. So my boom or bust, which I'm going to start calling the bargain value because that's just what this week is going to be. Your only's Justin Fields. He is going to start this week. He's playing Detroit. He's at home. Weather may not be the greatest, which actually plays in his favor because it's his field. Well, it should play in his favor. He should know the field by now. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But it's good for him because this is a good show up or not week at all. Yes, he had a horrible offensive line. Still going to have a horrible offensive line, but he's not going to be going up against Myles Garrett either. So he should get some good looks. He's very low cost in dailies right now. So he could surprise you and get up to the 20-point value. If he does that, he's well worth the money spent because you might need that money for other picks, especially in the running back position. Because my lock this week in the running back, I've got Tufas all through the running back position. First one up, Derrick Henry. He is your offense right now at Tennessee because everybody else is out. I don't know who Tannehill is going to be thrown to. He might be thrown to Terrence Howard for all I know out there in Tennessee. Who knows? There's nobody else there. Then you just got Derrick Henry. So you can imagine the plan is going to be ground and pound, which should be good enough to beat the Jets, should be good enough to give Derrick Henry monster points, as he's been doing all season already. Second pick to that lock is Alvin Kamara. He is at home. He is playing the Giants. Let's go now. I like this matchup. Good running back versus running back. In a level playing field, I would say Saquon Barkley. I like him over Kamara, but the Giants really, that's all they have is Saquon Barkley. And New Orleans has a halfway decent defense. So I'm favoring Kamara in this matchup. If you got to go with picking between the two of them, one or the other in dailies, I might go with Kamara because he's a little bit cheaper. Derrick Henry's over $10,000 this week in FanDuel. That's a lot of money, but he might be worth it. If I'm just going off of my league and I, for some reason, only can go with one running back somehow, I mean, if you got both of them, phenomenal. Congratulations to you. If you had to go with one, I would go with Derrick Henry, though. On the other end, with my advantage perspectives, with my Tufa continuing, I'm going to go with David Montgomery for Chicago. Again, soft matchup against the Lions. You figure the Bears will try to do some kind of ground and pound. And if Montgomery gets started, he's going to get started early, get started often. And then I like Jonathan Taylor from Indianapolis. He's going up against Miami. Again, another kind of soft matchup. I expected the Dolphins to have a better defense, but they really haven't been showing. Maybe they've had some tough matchups, maybe not. We're going to find out. But right now, the advantage goes to Taylor, who is also going to play this week. If I had to choose between the two, I think Taylor will have a better outcome in that game versus Montgomery. So I'm leaning more towards Taylor than Montgomery, but they're both not bad values in the dailies as far as starting or sit-ems with your leagues. Can't go wrong with either one of them. And the bargain / boomer bust, my Tufas again. Let's talk about Chuba Hubbard. He is the heir apparent in Carolina because Christian McCaffrey is going to be out for a few weeks. He's not on IR, but he's going to be out. He plays against Dallas this week. A very tough matchup, but he comes at a very discounted price. So he didn't look too bad, but didn't look too great. There is a receiving variant with him, so they will look to throw him the ball, maybe. Do not expect him to be Christian McCaffrey, but at the price, he might not be a bad option. The other one is Mike Davis in Atlanta. I'm going to be featuring Atlanta this week a lot. They are definitely on the clock and on the got my eye on you kind of thing, because this is put up or shut up week for Atlanta. You've got to show me something as far as fantasy goes. He is the heir apparent starter, and he's been letting Cordero Patterson outrun him. I think this week playing against Washington, which is another team I'm a little surprised with their defense, they've been giving up points, and they've been giving up points on the ground. So if this is a game Mike Davis is going to show up, this will be the game he shows up, and he is also a good discount this week. From the receiving end, let's talk about Devonte Adams. Again, with that Pittsburgh versus Green Bay option. Devonte Adams is kind of self-explanatory. And Pittsburgh, again, has been giving up points in the air. So he's my lock. It's got to be, right? I mean, hey, go for him. If he's in your leagues, play him. If you got the budget for him, give him a try in the dailies. For my advantage, I got the ODB again. Odell Beckham playing against Minnesota. Now, they are away. But again, there's nobody else to throw the ball to. As Jarvis Landry is still on IR. So if that game gets to be an air game, which it could be playing against Minnesota, Minnesota has the ability to put up high points at any given time. And you might be playing catch-up sometimes. It can happen. ODB is your guy on the advantage part. He's not as expensive to grab right now. So take a look at him. And my bargain going to be Antonio Brown in Tampa Bay. With Gronkowski out, there is some kind of little kind of connection, you want to call it, between him and Brady. I mean, Antonio Brown, let's not forget, a couple of years back when he was in Pittsburgh, he was like, phenomenal. I mean, that was godlike performances by Antonio Brown. He still has a lot in the tank. This is a game Tom Brady is going to take personal, probably. So he's going to look to feature. He's got to throw to somebody. Antonio Brown is about as flashy as it gets. And he comes at a pretty decent bargain because we didn't know he was going to play. Remember, he was on the COVID list last week. This week he's playing. Look at him and put him in your lineup. He's good bargain. He's a little bit more towards advantage at this point. So moving over to tight ends. Of course, your lock's got to be Travis Kelce. Granted, Kansas City hasn't been doing the best, but Kelce's been consistent, and he's going to get the ball. This is a must-win for Kansas City. They're going to be putting their weapons on display. They have to. You expect Mahomes to go to his go-to guy, Kelce. He's going to get a lot of touches in this game, so he's a lock. As far as advantage goes, unfortunately, we got to feature Chicago's adversary this week, T.J. Hawkinson. He has been the offensive throwing option for Detroit, and I don't see nothing different with this week. He's going to get thrown to. That secondary is real suspect. So he comes at a decent price, not too high, but not too low. So if he's in your bargains for dailies, go for it. And then your bargain, Kyle Pitts. Look, Atlanta, again, he ain't been showing up. A lot of people drafted him high in rounds, like fourth and
Make sure
third,
that you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Iron Skillet Sports. And remember to like, share, and subscribe to Iron Skillet Sports on YouTube at Iron Skillet Sports.
Low points as far as people to pick up in dailies. I mean, if you drafted him in your leagues, you got to go. You got to start. You have to play him because there's really not too many other tight end options at that point. That's who you featured, so you have to stick with him. But in a daily perspective, he's a very low. So I would say give him a go this week. Now, moving on to defenses, obviously your lock is Buffalo. Again, they're at home against Houston. Houston, they show signs of greatness, and then they show signs of what if or what in the world is this. And Buffalo can really get at you. And I think they're going to really get at them. They come at a high price, though. I think I saw something about $5,000 in FanDuel, which is kind of high, but they might be worth it. As far as advantage, I'm going to go with Dallas. Dallas is just under 4,000, I think, in dailies and FanDuel. They're at home against Carolina without Christian McCaffrey. Now, I know we talked about Chuba as your feature running back in your bargain, but again, I mean, Carolina's not just going to light up the scoreboard anyway. So you like a higher, not too high of a pick, but somewhere around the middle. I think Dallas is your lock this week as far as that goes for an advantage perspective. And then don't laugh at me for this. Here's my bargain, my ultimate bargain for defense. The New York Jets. I said it. Listen, hear me out. Don't laugh. Don't gasp. I know. Just hear me out for a second. I'm not telling you to feature them in your leagues. Don't pick them up in your league. But look at them in dailies. Yes, they are dead bottom in everywhere. It's like $10 in Yahoo, $3,000 in FanDuel. Hey, that's next to nothing. So if you want to feature some of these locks that are high priced, but you got to get from underneath the table somewhere else, look at the Jets, because Tennessee has not been going out and scoring 40 points on people. And the Jets, they're low points, but they're still getting 4 or 5 fantasy points as far as that goes with dailies. And I don't see that being no different this week. They might actually surprise you and get a few extra points because we don't know who the ball is going to be thrown to. And eventually this is a league where the ball has to get thrown. You're not going to get 50 touches from Derrick Henry today. Might get 30, but not 50. So that means somebody's got to get thrown to, and you might catch a few errors in that game. So they might catch you off surprise. So there is my goals for you. Good luck. Hope y'all win some money. Hope you win your leagues. As always, like, subscribe. We're good guys. follow the rest of the Sizzle syndicates, and we'll see you next week in week 5.